Outerversal. You heard that right. Goku isn't just Goku-versal, he's also outer. It's time to finally put an end to the Dragon Ball downplay. First, let's go ahead and define the original general argument to get Goku to Outerversal in the first place. So no, we're not talking about the individual scan being enough to get Goku to Outerversal. Anyone who genuinely believes that the scan of transcending dimensions is actually sufficient enough to get Goku to Outerversal does not know how basic power scaling works. But we do actually use the statement as a use of supporting the idea that Goku is Outerversal, not just using the
Scaling Saitama to Outerversal. Here Guru said.
Well, we have all seen this word Outerversal being thrown around up and down. You've all heard that Goku is Outerversal. You've probably heard that Saitama is Outerversal. You've heard that Federine is Outerversal. Or in some cases, you'd even hear High Outerversal as well, or Boundless. Now, I'm not going to talk about what those other two things that they mentioned, the High Outer or the Boundless, I may have heard before. I'm just going to talk about Outerversal, what it is, and how the tiering system defines it. Now, for this video, I had actually taken knowledge from both CSAP and VSBW. Now, I'm not going to, I'm going to actually take and explain everything about Outerversal. If I do, the video would even be way too long, honestly. And at the end of the video, I'm going to just summarize everything into like 5 basic aspects so that you would actually know and identify Outerversal and how to use it. Okay, so I'll first be starting with CSAP's own definition of Outerversal. But when we say Outerversal, what do we mean by this term? Now, Outerversal is a term that is used to describe beings or realities that transcend the concept of space, time, and dimensions entirely. In essence, beyond the concept of dimensionality as a whole. And then these entities are considered to exist beyond the framework of even infinite dimensions, operating on a transcendent level that makes physical laws, causality, and dimensional hierarchies irrelevant to them. Well, that's the whole point of Outerversal. Now, how does this tie in with what we actually see? This one I got was just from a quick Google search, but how does this tie into what we actually see on the tiering systems like CSAP and VSBW? Well, it's pretty much the exact same thing. But then let's see what CSAP has to say concerning Outerversal. Now, in CSAP and VSBW, the tier is tier 1A, and on CSAP it says characters that have no dimensional limitations and are beyond scientific definition thereof. Basically, a being or an object which is above and beyond dimensional measure, as I said earlier, beyond the concept of dimensionality. Things that would be considered this tier would usually, but not always, be something that is completely formless, abstract, and transcendental. The usual scale does not make sense for a beyond dimensional object. Such beings, now take note of this part, cannot be affected by destruction within the confines of space, physical matter, and energy. In essence, so not only are you above dimensionality, but according to CSAP, you are also abstract, formless, and transcendental. Now, this transcendental, VSBW actually elaborates more on this area too, but I will get on that one later. As for what he says now, when he says that not affected by destruction within the confines of space, physical matter, and of course energy. In essence, they are not bound by space, they are not bound by distance, length, size, or location, much the same way we are. They are not at all. Also, physical matter doesn't mean anything to them. So if you are a matter manipulator, or an energy manipulator as well, or somebody like Firestorm or Ang, trust me, your powers are effectively useless and worthless to an Outerversal being. And even energy attacks, like Superman using his lasers or Naruto using chakra or any of those things, they don't really matter to an Outerversal being as well. But this is just for CSAP's own definition primarily. I mean, like, you even have it here, they say that characters are transcendent to dimensionality, as well as characters capable of significantly affecting things that transcend dimensionality. Well, you have it here on CSAP. But in VSBW, now it goes into detail, and VSBW is apparently a lot more strict than with CSAP. Now, for VSBW, what it does say is characters or objects residing in higher states of existence, surpassing material composition as a whole, and who are therefore completely unreachable and inaccessible to any and all extensions of the aforementioned structures. That is, the other dimensional structures, or even multiversal or hyperversal structures, or even just a whole universal structure as a whole, completely inaccessible to those other lower structures. Their superiority over such realms as such is purely qualitative, based entirely on the ontological quality and nature of their existence rather than any quantitative or numerical principle. So VSBW emphasizes on one thing here in his own definition. There it emphasizes on you being qualitatively different. It's not about the power that you have, it's not about quantity. It's more about the very nature of your own existence. A fundamental change in the nature of your own existence is what would actually get you to Outerversal. And this is not too different from CSAP. I'm like, they pretty much say the same thing basically, just that one's more strict and they're more technical. I'm like, VSBW here states that what you have to be purely, you have superiority over such realms and it's purely qualitative. That is, like I said, the nature of your own existence has to be fundamentally different in such a way that those things are pointless. The best analogy I can give is almost like you comparing the life of bacteria to the sun. Do you see the gap in the nature of their own existence? Yeah, that's like the best analogy I can give. The sun itself is a star that is burning at millions of degrees, and while there's bacteria just swimming inside a lake somewhere on Earth. Two different things entirely. That's the whole nature of Outerversal. You are completely beyond everything that there is. Now, if you take note of the fact that I said they're also above physical laws too, or causality, those things again wouldn't also matter to you one way or the other. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of Outerversal, to be transcendental. And VSBW also touches more on this, because if you go read down, it's in the wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, in the fourth paragraph it says that on the other hand, fundamentally surpasses lower states of existence, with their sheer superiority not being expressible as the sum, union, or permutation of anything in these lesser states. In other words, transcend lower existence to the point that those vanish into nothingness. Again, emphasizing on the gap in the nature of your own existence. Now, if you take note of everything that was said in this video, one being the whole transcendental nature of it, as well as the fact that they are beyond dimensionality, which is like the basic requirement. And then you also look at the other factors at play, like an entirely different nature of existence. You get a clear view of what Outerversal actually is based on how this site defined it. I'm like, I'll not touch on the high Outerverse level yet, but in VSBW it has the low Outerverse level. And the low Outerverse level is basically what, at least to me that is, it looks more like the Outerverse level here on a CSAP, to be honest. I'm like, it sounds like basically the same thing that can encompass or affect structures containing all possible dimensional spaces. So in essence, if you are infinite dimensional, you fall under the low Outerversal tier at best. That is at best. If you can affect or you can transcend an infinite number of dimensions, then you can fall under the low Outerverse tier. That is for CSAP at least. But now, I did mention that I was going to give you like some basic things about Outerversal, like the 5 basic things that I actually use to understand Outerversal. So here they are. Okay, so I did say that there was going to be like 5 basic things I was going to tell you at the end of the video to understand Outerversal, and one of them in particular I didn't actually mention in the video. I mean, like, I was just trying to make the video as short as possible, and I'm pretty sure I did a terrible job of that at this point. I'm like, if I went into detail concerning dimensionality, there would have been more other things to talk about, which I casually avoided. Just went straight to what the two of them said, nothing more, nothing less. But here goes. For one, you have being beyond the concept of dimensionality, which we already talked about and which everybody knows. 2, you have being abstract. 3, you have being formless. 4, you have being unquantifiable. And 5, you have being transcendental. Now, this unquantifiable that wasn't mentioned there in the video, I believe I got this idea when reading on the VSBW, because like I said, there are some aspects that VSBW mentioned that CSAP didn't mention. And I think it's supposed to be the nod to the fact that you can't actually quantify an outerversal being the same way you would quantify anybody who is higher dimensional or just multiversal or in any of the lower tiers. I'm like, sure, you can tell what height I have, you can tell what size I am. But for an outerversal being that is pretty formless, yeah, quantifying him wouldn't really work. Also, when it comes to this idea of power as well, kind of like the amount of chakra that is used in Naruto or the amount of cost energy one has, they are still quantifiable compared to an outerversal being. You can't really quantify them the same way. So like that's like the whole point I was going to mention. But yeah, but like those are like the 5 basic things. You have being beyond the concept of dimensionality, you have being abstract, you have being formless, you have being unquantifiable, and you have being transcendental. You remember these basic things? Yeah. Beyond dimensionality, abstract, formless, unquantifiable, and transcendental. You have perfectly understood Outerversal. Anyway, if you like this video, follow for more. I think maybe I'll probably have to make a much detailed video explaining the other ones, and probably that will preferably be done on YouTube, to be honest, and on TikTok, because I don't think anybody will sit down for that.